I was going to say, because in this one he gave me the questions in a little bit different order, but we'll just continue on with the original ones. Alright. For the record, please state your full name, month, year, and place of birth, and place of residence, current residence.
Karen Ellen Torper Thompson, born November 11th, 1942, to Glenn and Agnes Rund Torper at Bartron Hospital, Watertown, South Dakota.
Would you describe your family and any memorable moments growing up?
Well, I am a full-blooded Norwegian, having grandparents born in Norway and came to settle in the U.S. And I'm an only child and always had a dog, my best friend, Tippy.
And some of your memorable moments growing up?
Sunday was always a church day. Afternoon, it was visiting relatives or friends, either our house or theirs. And of course, you always had to have lunch, which consisted of sandwiches, jello, cake, or cookies. Or, if we were really lucky, my aunt asked us to stay for supper, which was home canned beef from the cellar and whatever else she had on hand. The beef was the best. On Christmas was a big holiday in our family. Christmas Eve was a big dinner, lutefisk, lefse, ham, mashed potatoes, and all the trimmings, served to my aunt and uncles on my mom's side of the family. Dinner was not until 6:30 or so, because of course the cows had to be milked first. After dinner we exchanged gifts, and after all the dishes were washed by hand, we could open gifts. And this is a custom that's been carried out to this day. Of course, I always got the most, because I was the only kid on this side of the family. It got to be a late night, but up in the morning and off to church. After church, to my dad's side of the family for another big dinner. Had a gift exchange with my cousins, home again to milk the cows, and off to church again to be in the church Christmas program. After the program, everyone, no matter age, everyone received a brown bag of peanuts, candy, and an apple.
Interesting. You can talk about your schooling if you'd like.
My schooling?
Yeah, like the cattle truck is really interesting too.
Grades 1 to 4 was one teacher. Grades 5 to 8 was one teacher. And grades 9 to 12 were probably 3 teachers. And the first couple of years of school, we had no bathrooms inside, just outdoors. And I didn't write this, but we were close to a railroad track. And we had what they called tramps. And they liked to go hide, especially in the girls' outhouse.
Oh, geez.
So they could scare you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So later we got bathrooms. And also, we finally got hot lunches that our moms took turn making. And I rode a bus to school. Oh, maybe 6 miles or so, with 15 to 20 other kids, which was an old little cattle truck, which had a makeshift top on it and steps in the back to get into. Once you got in, a couple benches to sit on or stand if it was full, plus no heater in the winter. The driver of the bus was an old auto and truck mechanic, but very caring. When it snowed and ice got on the windows. I'm backing up here.
Oh, you're fine.
He had no defrosters, so he had to use his metal tobacco can to stop and scrape the windows. And he was always smoking his pipe. But every Christmas, we all received a book of lifesavers, which probably cost no more than a quarter in those days, and a lot more lifesavers than today. And that was a big, big deal.
Huh.
That was a big gift. Well, it came to entering 8th grade, and that small school was going to be closing. So my parents had me go to a bigger school in Hayti, South Dakota. Still rode a bus, thinking they had everything. Good basketball team, worked concession stands, many times making popcorn, selling candy and pop. And rode the bus also to many out-of-town basketball games, singing 99 bottles of beer on the wall for a bus driver. Junior, senior proms were held at the school, with parents serving us dinner and then off to a bigger town of Watertown for a movie or whatever. Graduated from there in May of 1960.
Awesome. All right. What aspects of a family have you noticed that are no longer part of families today? Or something that you wish still kind of existed?
Probably more family gatherings there are, but there's fewer.
Uh-huh.
But modern communication has kept the families close together.
Nice. All right. And would you describe your family house, farm, cars, or anything exciting that you remember, anything interesting you remember growing up?
We had a small family house, no indoor plumbing. We did have heat, though.
Oh, there you go.
A cistern for water, which was hauled in if you didn't have enough rainwater. Had a dial telephone. And, of course, everyone could listen. And when you were in school, Mom knew what was going on at school before you got home. So you better tell her the truth.
Yep.
And it was just a typical barn, chicken house, hog house, and a grain bin, small scale, that my parents rented this farm. The first car I remember was a Model A Ford.
Gotcha. Who owned it?
The car?
Yeah.
My parents.
Oh, they bought it?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
And I remember every spring we had a school picnic.
Uh-huh.
At the lake.
Oh.
And your parents brought food. I mean, it was a picnic.
Uh-huh.
And I was kind of embarrassed because everybody had a nice car.
Uh-huh.
But I got a new yellow Donald Duck t-shirt to wear. I wish I had that t-shirt. And also, we didn't have electricity, so to speak. We had a 32-volt batteries in the basement that kept running and charging.
Oh, geez.
And so it was kind of a one light at a time because you didn't want to use too much.
Uh-huh.
So you would have lights.
Huh.
And, of course, no TVs.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And
did you have a radio?
Yeah, we had a radio that was hooked up to some battery. Christmas tree lights were hooked up to some battery under the tree.
Oh, gotcha.
And you sat around the radio and watched it.
Yeah. Do you remember listening to anything in particular?
Oh,
no. No. Did your dad listen to like the news and stuff?
Yeah.
Nice. All right. And what kind of hours did your family work on the farm, and how did this change with the seasons?
Hours on the farm were pretty much 24/7.
Yeah.
The cows needed milking, the pigs needed fed, the chickens had picked the eggs. There was no time for a vacation, really.
Yeah.
I mean, harvest and planting was longer hours, but you did, mainly they didn't work much on Sundays.
Gotcha. Sundays were always kind of the holy day.
Yeah, that was.
And so, do you remember any kind of new tractors or new technology that your dad got or you seen your neighbors have that was like, whoa? Doug, do you remember any new technology or anything?
Well, there's lots of new technology. It depends on if you're talking about farming or raising livestock. So livestock went from hand feeding to wagon feeders to neighbors and relatives having automated feeding systems where you flipped a button and it fed the cattle automatically. From obviously a machinery standpoint, you went from horses, which did a lot of work early on, to then engines, to then, small tractors, to now extremely large tractors. So with computer technology associated with those large tractors, so lots of advancements.
Was Grandpa Torper pretty brand loyal? Did he have a favorite kind of tractor brand or?
Yes, it had to be red.
Had to be red. International, right?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Green was not.
So when you first lived on the farm, did you have tractors from when you can remember, or did you have horses at first?
No, tractors.
Tractors? Gotcha.
I mean, no cab on a tractor or you shifted just like you didn't put it in one thing and go.
Was there combines back then that?
No, there was thrashing machines.
Oh, thrashing machines.
And you used to have a binder pulled by a tractor, one person in the tractor and one person sitting on the binder, because when you cut the grain, the oats or the wheat or whatever, it tied it in bundles.
Oh.
Well, then after you did that, the men went out and put it in shocks, like a little. Well, then you had to harvest it, you had a thrashing machine.
Mm-hmm.
And I, probably teen years, drove a tractor with a rack behind, and guys walked in through the bundles on the rack, and then I pulled up to the thrashing machine for them to unload.
So how long did that take? Like a harvest, was that like a week-long thing or like a 2-week long or?
Well, it probably was depending on weather, it probably could be done in a week at one farm, but then they only farmed 160 acres.
Mm-hmm. Then you probably helped out your neighbors too a lot.
Oh yeah. Then you went out and helped,
Gotcha.
And they kind of grouped up, and so you could keep hauling to them and throw in this thrashing machine, and you ended up with a big pile of straw.
Gotcha.
That you could use for bedding your cattle and pigs or whatever in the wintertime.
Do you remember anything that your father was like ever coming home super excited to buy? Like, it doesn't even have to be farm related, but anything that he was super excited to show you guys or that was kind of interesting or innovating? Like your first television, like how was that?
I hardly remember the first television.
Yeah.
If we were excited or not. They didn't buy much new.
Uh-huh.
And if they couldn't pay for it, they didn't buy it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there was no charge cards and
Yeah.
all of that. He wrote a check for it and hoped it didn't bounce. I mean, there was people that did, but
Yeah.
you know, he.
What was your least favorite chore on the farm that you remember having to do?
Pick the eggs.
Pick the eggs. Why was that miserable?
Because I didn't like reaching in under the chicken and they.
They'd peck at you?
Uh-huh.
Huh.
That was my mom's job.
Gotcha. Did your mom make any like really good food dishes that you remember that you wish you knew how to make or that you haven't had in a long time?
She made a lot of angel food cakes from scratch because she had chickens.
Mm.
Probably she was good at making lefse.
Yeah.
I don't know, she did a lot of cooking.
Yeah. And so, was her kitchen like how? Did you have a faucet? Obviously not if you had the
No.
right. Huh? So did you have like a basin full of water there in the
And
kitchen?
you had a pump, and you pumped it up from the cistern.
Oh.
And you had a bucket sitting there.
Okay.
And of course you had to heat water
Oh
to
yeah.
wash dishes,
Uh-huh.
and they were washed by hand.
Oh yeah. So how did like baths and showers work?
We had a sink, but I guess you heated water and poured the water in the sink and washed.
Interesting.
No bathroom.
Do you know if our family took advantage of the Homestead Act or any like to get the free land or anything?
No.
Nope. The land was already purchased by someone and they rented it when they
rented
moved. Gotcha. Oh, yes. Do you remember any stories about the dust storm? Or maybe your mom or dad saying something about it?
Not a dust storm, but a terrible tornado windstorm that came up, I think, early morning.
Mm-hmm.
And it was before I was born. And my mom lived with her grandpa. And he got him up and said, "Get your shoes on." And my mom went in the closet to get her shoes on, and at the same time the windows blew in and there was shutter in the closet.
Oh, jeez. Well,
because all the windows came in on the house and there was glass all over.
oh.
And so I was brought up anytime there was a threat of a cloud. Mom always said, "Got your shoes on?"
Put on your shoes.
And I do that to this day.
Correct.
Doug, do you tell your kids to put their shoes on when it's...
I wear my shoes all the time. So,
Then there you
Well,
go.
I do too. See, I think that's why.
Let's see. I don't know. Was there anything that I haven't asked that I should know?
That you should have?
Yeah, well, yeah. Anything I skipped? Or just any interesting tidbit you have.
Oh, my dad they always rented this farm,
Mm-hmm.
and I was out of high school, and they could buy this farm, which I'm sure he didn't have all that money to buy the farm, but he was brave, and I guess I was leaving home,
Yeah.
so that was a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
But on their rented farm, they had built a garage. A one-stall garage.
Yeah.
And they moved that garage to the farm that they bought. And I was always told if they couldn't make the payments on the farm and lost the farm, they had a place to live.
Jeez. So do you think like neighbors helped him out to pay for the farm or?
No. I think he paid himself.
Yeah.
They paid themselves, but he was, if they didn't have a crop for 2-3 years or something and couldn't.
Yeah, make payments.
Yeah.
Huh.
But that's probably the only thing he ever owed money on.
Do you remember anything about your neighbors? Did you have like little neighbor kids you remember, or a cranky neighbor or something? No. Like, what did you guys used to do for fun when you did have free time? Did you hang out with the neighbor kids?
Not really.
No.
They were too far away.
Yeah. Probably a mile down the road.
Yeah, but you went and stayed at different people's houses. I remember the first time I stayed at my girlfriend's overnight, and we got up and she fixed us eggs. Like eggs.
You're probably sick of eggs. You probably had eggs a lot.
No, I didn't like them.
Oh. Huh. Interesting. Is there anything...
Well, in farming, I think they used to plow first.
Mm-hmm.
Probably dig. Drag it. What was the other thing they had? Digger.
Disc.
And a digger. Well, they don't do that anymore. And they don't cultivate corn. As, you know. They'd have to cultivate 3 different times.
Yeah.
In that season.
Did you guys have a lot of cattle?
We had quite a few.
Yeah.
Didn't milk cows so terribly long. I know they ended up having a milking machine. And then they had a separator that you separated the milk and the cream.
Uh-huh.
And you sold the cream.
Gotcha.
The cream cans downstairs.
Mm-hmm.
119. Is the number on it? Dad's grandpa's name's on it. And you sold the cream. And they'd pick it up, come around with a truck and pick up these cans. But one time they couldn't come pick it up because we had a bad snowstorm.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember taking that cream, going to Castlewood, and you couldn't see on either side of the road. The snow was that high.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Huh. So what was the closest small town to you? Or like, where'd you guys go to get your groceries if you bought groceries?
Yeah, Haytide, probably 7-8 miles.
And so what was in Haytide?
Oh, there was quite a bit there at one time.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I think there was 2 grocery stores, couple cafes,
Oh.
lumberyard, co-op elevator, couple gas stations.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, there was a bowling alley in later before.
Movie theater.
Yeah, movie theater.
Huh.
Park.
Oh.
Volunteer fire station and courthouse because it was a county seat. A school.
No.
Car dealership.
Yeah, there used to be. And implement, international implement.
Nice. Huh. When was your first car that you said, that, like, this is my car?
My car?
Yeah.
My first car was a 49 Ford. Turquoise.
Oh, pretty.
But I was working out of high school
Oh, gotcha.
before I had a car.
Yeah. What was your first job out of high school?
At a hospital.
Nice. What did you do?
I worked in the office. Admitting patients, working different hours and weekends.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, were you expected to help out the family with this job, or was this your money?
No.
No, it was your money. Huh.
But you didn't make much.
Well, yeah.
And plus I had to have an apartment.
Oh, you did?
Oh, yeah.
Huh. So did you get, like, kicked out of the house, or was it just kind of
No.
expected for you to, like, leave, or?
Well, there wasn't.
Did you want to leave?
There wasn't nothing to do on the farm.
Oh, gotcha.
I mean, you'd have had to drive, and I suppose some kids did. I don't know.
Interesting. I don't know. I think I got everything.
You got everything?
Yeah.
What's Doug gonna add to it?
Doesn't get anything. I was going to say the biggest change that probably no one ever sees about in farming in general is probably the advancement in seed.
Yeah.
Because the seed was genetically improved even way back then so that it reaped more per acre. If it reaped more per acre, you needed more equipment. And then they added herbicides on top of this, so no longer did you need to cultivate, which saved gas on tractors, but you then gained more still per acre. And then you got rid of what they call plowing and disking, and they went to minimum till, or planting, where you basically broke up the ground and planted at the same time, to now where they have air seed planters where you don't do any of that, but the whole time is that genetically we've altered the seed so that you get more per acre, which shoved the small farmers of 160 acres out of the way. You can't survive without farming sections of land now, because the equipment has gotten so big, the technology advancement, again with Roundup Ready soybeans to self-driving tractors and combines,
Yeah.
has just forced small rural farmers away. So to me, I think you can trace it back to seed genetics, you know.
Do you remember the guy that had the most land in your area? Or the richest guy in your area?
Probably the most land is Lackness.
Yeah. Before that, it was Ronnie Arnold, which he passed away.
I
And
don't
he
know.
was so big, and then Lackness's came in after.
But like a section was pretty typical. Or not section, 160 acres is very typical.
Well, yeah, back
Yeah.
in my, that's all my dad had.
Yeah.
Half a section was big.
Yeah.
3/4 was pretty big. If you had a section back then, you were probably pretty well off.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, now you need a couple sections.
Oh, yeah.
But
You can, I mean, a combine costs as much as our house, your house, and
yeah, there's 600,000 now.
yeah. I mean,
Mm-hmm. I was gonna say, how does a farmer even pay for that?
You got to get it big. So
yeah.
if you buy something like that, and if you do beans and corn, you may use it 1 month out of the year. So to justify that, you have to really make it work. So the only way you can do that is if you have tons and tons of land to use that machine. But if you don't have that machine, you lose out.
Yeah.
So it's a catch-22. It's just like milking.
Yeah.
Milking was all done by hand.
Yeah.
And then now it's all automated. And yes, people still have to go around, but now it's one person can milk 20 cows at the same pace that one person did it by hand 50 years ago.
Yeah, well, there's a couple big cow milking up there,
Yeah. I'll say the only ones around Wayne are huge.
And then corporate America comes in, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's no longer Ted's Farms, 20 chickens produce enough eggs for the local grocery store. Walmart comes in and hires Tyson, and they have huge facilities of chickens that displace the rural American farmer, and people then shop at Walmart as opposed to the local rural town grocery stores, which are all being...
Say, you rarely even hear of a local town grocery store anymore.
No.
there still is that one in,
Hayti still has one.
well, it's combined with Lake Norden. It's the same people.
Yeah.
You know.
Did you have a typewriter in your house?
Yes, we did.
Did
a
you?
A manual one, not an electric one.
So did you send a lot of letters, or did your parents send a lot of letters?
They had mail.
Yeah.
They did a lot by mail.
Mm-hmm. I was gonna say, I always see like older generations' handwriting that's way more legible and way nicer, and compared to now.
She
Yeah.
did more handwriting.
Yeah.
Handwriting, yeah. Well, do they even teach it now?
For a month. Learned cursive in a month, and that's it.
Yeah.
And they're told we only got to use it for a signature.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Well, nice. I'm gonna stop recording.